All right, so got a gun here. Customer sent it in. They picked up one of the exclusive FET CS3s, and they said that we got a leak going on. So the leak is going on down here somewhere, and they were concerned about the gun being anodized more than once. Now I know this gun was done here because we're the ones that do this anodizing on this gun, and I'm the one that takes it apart. It's either me or one other guy here that takes these guns apart and reassembles them back together. So I know this gun's only been anodized once, because there's only 2 people in the entire building that would touch it. But I want to show you why that might be an issue, or might look like an issue, and then also let's solve this leaky problem. So let's go ahead and put this on and see if we can hear this leak, or see if there's a leak. And there is. I can definitely hear it coming through there. Right there. So let's degas this real quick. Pull these grips off. The grips are really dirty. So the gun's had some use already. Or plenty of use. Let's do that. And that. So it's coming out of this bleed hole on the reg, which leads me to believe there's only a couple O-rings of things that can cause that problem right there. So that's a pretty straightforward fix. Now, as with Planet guns, you typically don't see too many issues with them, but just like any gun, you have a problem with it. So let's get that apart, and then we'll talk about some other things while we're taking it apart there. I got some O-rings here. I got my tools here. Let's get some things taken apart. I'm going to wipe down part of this because there's paint all over this. Paint in the grips. It's never good to leave your gun just sitting and standing paint. Sitting and standing. Just sitting in paint. Because it causes problems. Alright, so let's take this off of here. One of the concerns that the customer had was when they had this off, because they said they went in to rebuild it, that they could see other colors inside. You can see on this side, pull this off, there's some red, blue, some white, maroon, almost looks pink in a way right there. So let's talk about that real quick. Where are those ones? Thank you. Need these pliers so I can get this piston out of here. We obviously don't want to damage the piston in any way, so I use a plier that's it's like a needle nose, but it's rounded and it has no teeth on it. That way I'm not potentially marking up the face of this piston in any way. Alright, so if we look inside here, you can see down at the bottom inside there that you can see some red, some blue, which would definitely lead people to think that the gun had been anodized multiple times. But I know that it hasn't, because I took it apart. So why would that be there? Well, you got to remember that this gun was a color originally from factory. So it has that original color on it. But we stripped that color off of there. So there's no color on it before it goes into the dyeing process of the anodizing to turn it whatever color. Now, you'll see that the sigil on the top right here is red. The only way to get that sigil to be red right there is this entire gun needs to be turned red. So the first thing they're going to do, because this is going to be the base coat or the base color of this whole thing, is they're going to put this gun into the stripping process and get all the color out of it. And then they're going to take the entire gun and turn it red. Then they're going to put that sticker over the top of this section right here. And then they're going to take all the red off the gun. They're going to bring it back to a raw material state, or a non-colored state. And that sticker that's over the red is going to keep that red right there. So that's the reason you're going to see other colors mixed in right here. This is not an important part of the gun, so they don't need to make this look pretty right here. This is going to get covered up with the regulator, so you don't need that. This doesn't matter that it's different colors on there. So this entire thing was red. They masked off the red and stripped all the color out of it, and then turned it green. They did the silvers, they did the brushing strokes on it, they did the yellows. And so you're going to get this mix of colors inside here, which is going to, you know, certain places it's going to stay on there. Certain places, if you looked all over the gun, you're going to find those colors in other places that aren't important, that aren't visible when the gun is assembled right there. So as far as the gun being anodized multiple times, no. It was anodized one time. It was dyed multiple different times to get the colors that we want, but the anodizing process was only done one time. All right, so that's that. So that's anodizing. Quick little crash course through anodizing. But now let's fix a leaky problem. So if we've got a leak coming out of here, really you're looking at piston O-ring, which is going to be, you know, right here. That one can cause air to come out of that hole. This top O-ring technically could cause it to come out of that hole. If we take this off, this O-ring's not going to cause it. If this O-ring was to leak, then you'd get air coming out the bottom. If this O-ring was to go bad, you would most likely get air coming out of the bottom. And when I say the bottom, I mean through the bottom of the ASA. If you were getting like a supercharging issue, or you were bleeding through the regulator and it wasn't the spool O-rings, maybe your reg seat was bad, but the reg seat's fine in this one. And then up inside of here, at the very top on the inside in here, there's a tiny little O-ring. It's right inside here. That one would cause the issue too. So really three major things we would look at to cause a leak from the bleed hole on the side right here, or right there. My three things I would look at first: this one, this one, this one. I would change those three out, and then I would see if my leak went away. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's change these O-rings out real quick. We're going to change that one. I believe that's a 17 or a 16. Put it on my chart right there. So that's a 16. And grab a 16. Put that there. We're going to take the one from the inside here. This one is an 8. Inside there. Alright. Going to pull an 8 from my bin. Now this one can be a little tricky to get inside because you got to get it down inside there. I like to go from this side. It is the easiest, I think, to get that down in there. And when you're putting this O-ring in, if you have to replace it, whatever tool you're using to put this in, you got to be super careful that your tool itself is not going to cause a problem with that O-ring. So what we want to do is make sure that this tool, and I have this pick that I have here that I use, you probably see this pick in a lot of the videos. It's been with me for a long time. I've kind of formed it and shaped it to a way that I like, that helps me get things in where I want it to be. So I've got a nice rounded back to it. So I'm using the back side to push the O-ring where I want it to be. I'm never using the tip to push an O-ring where I need it to be. I'll use the tip to get O-rings out, but I'll never use the tip to put an O-ring in. I have this backside surface, which I can manipulate the O-ring around and get it in, especially when you're going down inside something like that. You gotta be super careful, because this stem of your piston right here needs to ride through that O-ring and seal as it's going up and down. And remember, every single time you shoot your gun, this is going to go up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down, for every single shot. It does not stay static. It doesn't just stay in one spot and regulate throughout. Every time it goes boom, 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 boom. So it's jumping up and down over and over and over and over and over again, constantly re-regulating the air pressure that's inside there. So that's a very important O-ring that's down inside there. This one doesn't go anywhere, so it's not that important, but it could, if air was to bleed past it, seeing as though it's sitting, you know, like this, if air got around it and up, it could come out of that hole. And then we want to remove this one. I'm pretty sure this is a 14. Yep, 14. Put that on here. And another thing, for taking O-rings off with a pick, you never want to dig your pick into the metal. I always use my pick, I get under the O-ring and I hook the O-ring around and then I bring it out. Never dig into the metal and then gouge and then try to lift away. You're just going to ruin the pieces that are there. You want to get underneath that O-ring, lift that O-ring out of its slot, and then pull the O-ring out. All right, so we got that. We're going to take a little bit of grease. We're going to get that O-ring down inside there. Use my finger on that one. Put those O-rings there. That's going to go on there like that. You can see the piston sticking through there. Put this in. I'm going to bring my adjuster down so that I can then take this, put this on. And right there. You can also use, like I did earlier, this little slot if you want to tighten that, but you don't need to crank on it. All you need to do is just go from where it's rotating to where it stops, a little bit of a snug, and that's it. There's no reason to crank that down, and we can put that back on there. Last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to clean this out, just in case for some reason there was some sort of debris in the piston body, or not piston body, the piston cavity. Just in case. That way I know that that there's no kind of debris inside here that would damage that O-ring again. If that O-ring was the one. And like I said, I don't know exactly which one it was. I'm just going to cover all my bases and get rid of ones that could have caused the problem. All right. Now we're going to put it back together. Make sure my filter was still there, which it is. Put that in. Just tighten this down. All right. Now we've got our adjustment all the way up, or all the way out, which is basically maxed out as far as pressure goes. So I want to make sure I turn that back in. I'm going to go in and then I'm going to come out like one. I'm going to come out 2 turns. And then I can always test it and adjust it from there, but you always want to start low and then go up. You never want to start high and go down. Pretty sure the manual says there's some number of turns from in. All right, so pressurized. I have no leaks going on. Let's turn it on. Turn our eyes off. no leaks. I'm going to walk over to the chrono, which is right next door to my station here, and just shoot one or two. So we're a little low on that. That's 246. We'll definitely want to bring that up. So I'll come out like another half turn. Got plenty of pressure in my tank. All right. So that puts us 288 right there. So that's perfect. So that's it. You know, little leaks, they're going to come. They're going to come and they're going to go, and you're going to get them. It doesn't matter what brand of gun you have. Doesn't matter who made it. I guess it doesn't matter who made it or who put it together. But it can happen. So definitely just take care of your gun. I mean, I don't like to see guns with paint all over them when they show up. It just shows me that maybe it's not being taken care of as best as it could be. Or it just means that they didn't have time to clean it and they sent it in. Either way, that's all right. But that's that. So if you ever have a CS3 and you got a leak out of that A spot or the hole in the reg right there, then that could be your issue. It's an easy fix. It takes 3 O-rings, a couple minutes, and that's it. So very, very simple, very straightforward. Hope that helps some people. Not a big deal. We'll get it back together and get it back out to the customer. Take it easy. Talk to you next time.